So restorative practices to me is a lifestyle. Restorative practices means community, it means building relationships, it means healing. Receiving the support and having the high expectations, it means managing and fostering, building relationships that are constructive, and then the healing process, understanding everyone's differences and the impact and the choices that they make.
Right, because you can't restore what you haven't built. To me, that's the meat of Brooklyn Collaborative. That's the heart, where we build this relationship with each other, where we can have those conversations. That middle layer is key and it's important because it really can change the trajectory of where a conflict can go. If you are doing the work at those two levels, we'll have very little moments where there are larger conflict circles where there may be a fight. The purpose of this circle is for us to resolve or restore any and all harm, and also check in about us being upstanders in our community.
We had a circle for a conflict that happened with two of my friends and how we can be an upstander and resolve it if it happened again.
It's important for us to slow down and see what was happening.
I flipped his hat, and then after I flipped his hat, he punched me in the face, and I was mad. All my friends came to make sure I didn't retaliate, and then after a couple days, 3 days, when we went back to school, I punched him in the stomach.
We were in a school where we used a punitive lens. All 4 of those boys would have received suspensions.
We barely get suspended. If anything, that would get us more mad at each other.
If anything, we'll probably have more conflict because oh, you got me suspended and whatnot.
You might think it's the other person's fault and the other person might think it's your fault, so you guys just got more mad at each other.
All that, and then more conflict will happen. But because of this, now everything is good.
We just talk about it and then solve it.
What commitments can you make with continuing to be an upstander?
My commitment is to not roast people too much and not hurt their feelings like I do now. And think better after I say something.
At any school that's practicing restorative practices, it should be a very small percentage of that happening if you are really trying to institute this culture into your school.
Crew is a group of students with an advisor that meets daily for about 30 minutes, and they do a lot of the foundational work of the community building aspect of restorative practices, so they are learning who they are.
Well, all of my family came from Jamaica, so it was difficult for them because they had to all get citizenship.
Crew is a place where we learn a lot about each other.
When you see students talking and using a talking piece or having a centerpiece, they're building relationships. They're building empathy for the person that is next to them. They're listening from their heart, and they're listening with their ears, and they're listening from their mind.
With that, you also learn what not to say to them, and what gets them mad.
It's empathy just goes a long way in general.
What are some of the things some of the forces that get in your way of being or staying motivated? What gets in your way?
The police.
When you've really developed that relationship with that kid, they trust the fact that you are present and that you're really listening to who they are.
Ralph, you said law enforcement, right? Can you talk more about that?
I'm not white, so they see me different. Stereotypes.
People say for boys that they need to be tough and they can't really talk about feelings or anything. I feel like I'm allowed to at this school because they encourage during crew to talk about your feelings during circles. So I think that makes it a peaceful school.
Students who feel safe will take on more risks, and that's where the area of growth really tends to happen, when students feel more vulnerable and have that support behind them in case they need an extra crutch.
That was what makes restorative practices so important and key, is that it builds the whole student. There are moments where we move into like this second level of our restorative practices, like any event that something happens where there's like a little tiff, right, or issue.
Happy Friday to everyone. I want to thank you for being present for today's Kaya Support Circle.
The meeting today was a restorative practice, and we basically came up with a goal and how I can show my full potential.
I am Kaya's advisor and crew leader, and today I'm going to bring two core values of open-minded and kind.
Love it. As adults, as we can model that type of behavior, now that student will take some of that modeling and apply it to their own lifestyle, and it will then have a resonating effect to those in their immediate circle and ultimately an impact on the larger community.
On one day, you are super duper focused and super strong, and then the next day you come in like angry at the world with your earbuds in and on your phone, and you say things like, when I walk up to you to check in, you're like, don't even talk to me.
Students learn with restorative practices on an individual level is the power of being honest with yourself.
The things that I'm scared or I fear to do, or like I'm scared to push myself beyond my limits, is actually things that will help me and like things that will make me a better person, but due to my fear, I don't do it, so I'm kind of like stuck.
Students have to learn to manage that emotion first. And in managing that emotion, then they have to learn how to separate the emotion from the action and the behavior.
So, on those days when you're letting your emotions run things, you're not able to get past that to be brilliant in class like we know you can be. And when I approach you, I want to do so kindly and collaboratively so that I can encourage you in a way to do that.
One of my teachers, Claire, she made me this thing, and like it was like a mood thing, and it was like, not right now, try later, we can talk now, and then like if I didn't want to talk, I'll just show you it. But I felt like that was disrespectful, like you're talking to me and I'm just, I felt like that was disrespectful, but I feel like something along those lines may work.
Beth, does that work for you?
Sure.
Right? Because Kaya, I don't want you to feel like you are disrespecting Beth, and I understand what that emotion may look and feel like. So Beth is telling you that it's A-okay.
Yeah.
You're feeling like this, then you just kind of show it up. Okay? So one thing that you're going to do is you're going to create kind of your emotional cue cards. I like that idea.
Do you want to work on that in group? Sure.
Ooh, yes. Glitters and stickers. In crew.
Without the practices, I would have never set a goal. I would have never been persistent enough to reach my goal.
It's a superpower, and with great power comes great responsibility.
It gives us more of a second chance, because for detention, it's just like, oh, you're being punished. You don't really have time to reflect on what you did and how we can move forward.
I've definitely seen a lot less suspensions. I've seen a lot less detentions and removals. And I think it's because of the love and passion that is resonating throughout our building.
It's a shift in culture, almost like a wonderful song, right? Like everything is just works well.
It like gives us a chance to reflect, see where we went wrong, know where we went wrong, and know how to fix it, and what relationships can be built to fix the thing we did wrong.
I think as students learn to value the principles of restorative practices, which is, again, building the positive relationships, which is healing, now we start to grow as a unit, as a collective, as a building, as a community.